Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some massive news for the Missouri Tiger fans coming out of the transfer portal is one of the top offensive linemen available in the portal, Cayden Green, transferring to the Missouri Tigers. And this is massive for multiple different reasons. One, it is extremely hard to find starting caliber offensive linemen that are available in the transfer portal. Cayden Green obviously was certainly one of them. But what makes Cayden Green special is a lot of those starting caliber offensive linemen that you do see available in the transfer portal are graduate guys going into their fifth or even sixth year of college football. Cayden Green, he's only going into his second year of college football. So not only is the upside certainly there in terms of what he is as a football player right now and what he can be in the next 12, 24 months is certainly extremely high. But more importantly, you're getting a starting caliber offensive lineman that can play the guard spot, that can play the tackle spot with multiple years of eligibility. And you talk about the Missouri Tigers closing the gap in the SEC. We saw that before our eyes in 2023. And you look at 2024 and in 2025 trying to close the gap. I want to talk a little bit about how Missouri is going about doing so. We got to talk Cayden Green, what he brings to this Missouri Tigers offensive line. Talk about the strategy that you've seen the Missouri Tigers have in terms of closing the gap and what they're doing in the transfer portal. Now, before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys. And I am just extremely grateful for all the support you guys have shown the boys throughout this transfer portal season. I have had just so much fun talking all these different roster moves, and the amount of support you guys have shown the boys has been absolutely phenomenal. Your guys' support allows us to do this. If y'all do enjoy the content, you want to support the boys, consider subscribing to the channel. Again, thank you guys so much for all the support y'all have gave us. Without further ado, let's get into Cayden Green. And for those who've been listening for the last couple of months, y'all know how fired up I am about what Coach Drink is doing with this Missouri Tigers program. And we're seeing that gap getting closed in terms of catching Georgia and catching Alabama and catching those top teams in the SEC. And we know they have the skill talent to play with anyone in the country, right? Luther Burden heading into that 2024 year is arguably the best wide receiver that we're going to see in college football. Where does Missouri close that gap? It's along the line of scrimmage. And getting a guy like Cayden Green with the upside that he has is absolutely massive. And you take a look at Cayden Green and what he did as a true freshman for the Oklahoma Sooners. And Oklahoma fans will tell you this. Like Cayden Green, I know there's some frustration about the transfer portal and Cayden Green leaving. They won't tell you that Cayden Green's a bad player. But Cayden Green is one of the best emerging young offensive linemen that we see in the country. There's a reason he's the number one offensive tackle available in the portal, the number 4 player overall. You look at what he did as a true freshman on the offensive line for Oklahoma last year. I mean, extremely impressive at a position that it's really hard for true freshmen to come in and dominate. This is a guy that had 293 pass pro snaps, only gave up 12 pressures and 0 sacks as a true freshman. And again, has the capability to play left tackle, came in week 1 and played left tackle for the Oklahoma Sooners. And pass protection, he's great in pass protection, right? 0 sacks as a true freshman on the offensive line. What I think is the true value of Cayden Green is he's a truly two-dimensional offensive lineman. Yes, he gets it done in pass protection, an absolute road grader in terms of getting that run game going. He's going to move bodies off the line of scrimmage. He's going to work up to the second level and pick up linebackers. It's a special blend of size and athleticism. And that's why you saw him have so much success at Oklahoma year 1 of college football. And him going into year 2 with the progressions he can make. And again, what I'd emphasize here is this isn't a guy that's 23 years old coming in for his 6th year of college football and has already played at a high level. He's played at a high level when he was 18, 19 years old. And so the ceiling, the meat left on the bone in terms of what Cayden Green can be is massive. Missouri wants to run the football. They get a road grader in terms of the run game. And you obviously want to pass protect for the quarterback. Brady Cook, obviously one of the emerging quarterbacks in the conference. Cayden Green is going to allow you to do that too. And you look at this Missouri team, and I mean, they got the skill talent to be extremely competitive. And I think Coach Drink looked at this team and said, how do we close the gap? We got to get better along the line of scrimmage to compete with teams like Georgia and Alabama. I mean, Cayden Green is going to be that guy to do so. And I want to take us to Missouri and kind of how they're choosing to close that gap and use the transfer portal to get Missouri over the hump. And it is not, I mean, kind of recycling a ton of guys and bringing a ton of new faces into the transfer portal. One of the more special aspects about this Missouri program is the culture that Coach Drink has built. This is a developmental program. We're getting guys in from the high school ranks. We're developing them and turning them into high-quality starters at the SEC level. So you're not going to see Coach Drink go out and get 25 new faces in the transfer portal like you see some other teams do. You're going to just kind of look at your roster and say, hey, where do we need to solidify some depth, solidify some talent? That's what we're going to do. We're not going to bring in a whole new roster through the transfer portal. So you look at a guy like Marcus Carroll. Obviously, Garrett Schrader had a phenomenal year in 2023. You want to continue that run game. You want to bolster up that running back depth. I mean, bring in a guy like Marcus Carroll, who was extremely productive at Georgia State, a guy that, again, Coach Drink has had a really good success evaluating running back talent from the lower levels of college football and identifying those guys, bringing them into the program. Obviously, Garrett Schrader, a massive success story. Marcus Carroll kind of represents that. And then you look at a guy like Torino Pride. With losing guys like Chris Abrams-James to eligibility into the NFL draft, you bring in a cornerback that is a starting caliber cornerback, started as a true freshman for the Clemson Tigers, with top 50 national recruit. They're kind of filling in the spots of their roster that they needed to. And why we were so high on Missouri, and I'll say this, I wasn't as high as 10-2 for the Missouri Tigers, but I was pretty high on this program heading into the year, was they're a complete team. You look up and down this roster and this depth chart, there's not a position group where you're saying, yeah, that's going to be a problem. Like they just aren't good enough there. They have aspects where they want to improve their roster, but they don't have any glaring massive holes. And because they're a complete team, that allowed them to win a lot of football games in that 2023 season. And they're using the transfer portal to continue to elevate this depth chart in these position groups. I mean, if you're a Missouri fan, bringing in Cayden Green with the high upside that he has and the ability to get stronger at the position that you want to in terms of closing that gap in the SEC is absolutely massive. And you look at what Missouri's doing on the high school trail. I mean, we have some fireworks that might be happening for the Missouri Tigers, right? A guy like Courtney Crutchfield, a top 50 national prospect, according to 24/7 Sports, he's committing, I believe, either today or later tomorrow, and another guy that Missouri's trending for. And so you're seeing Coach Drink do a really nice blend. And we kind of talked about it. The recipe, the blueprint in terms of building a college football roster is balancing high school classes in the transfer portal. And the emphasis is on bringing in guys at the high school ranks, right? There's a reason you don't see Georgia or Michigan or Alabama go and get 30 new faces in the transfer portal every cycle, because that's not the blueprint. The blueprint is recruiting out of high school, that being the base of your roster, and then using the transfer portal to kind of supplement some of the holes or maybe some cracks in the armor in terms of your depth chart. And that's exactly what Coach Drink is doing. And you land a guy like Courtney Crutchfield. You have a guy like Williams-Winery coming in. They're balancing really well, bringing in guys from the high school ranks, getting them developed. The player development for the Missouri Tigers the last couple of years has been, I mean, not many teams are doing it like Missouri is. And then we're going to balance out our recruiting at the high school rank and just supplementing a few really talented guys in the transfer portal. I always say it, I view high school and building this college roster as a diet, right? The base of your diet needs to be recruiting the high school ranks. And you can add a few supplements in terms of what positions or depth chart acquisitions you need through the transfer portal. I don't think there's many other programs and head coaches like Coach Drink and the Missouri Tigers that are doing a better job. Cayden Green, a massive get for the Missouri Tigers, not only signifying a massive offensive line addition in terms of getting that offensive line right, but just kind of highlighting the quality of roster building that this program is doing. I'm extremely fired up about this program. Many of you guys already know that. Massive addition in Cayden Green. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys again. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.